Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. Um, all nine of you. Please feel free to say hello. I don't know how long I'm going to be on tonight. I do apologize. I keep rescheduling and canceling shows. I haven't been feeling very well. I've also been helping take care of my dad, so I haven't been around as much. Um, I want to, though, I did want to stop in. Hello, hello, Angel. How are you, sweetie? I wanted to stop in and touch on a few things. First and foremost, our friend DJ Kaz. I don't know if many of you know about his daughter. If you go to my post, the very last post I made, there is a video. DJ Kaz's daughter has been through a lot her entire life. She's a huge, huge fan of Harry Styles. So I have shared DJ Kaz's video to my post. If you guys could share that in hopes that maybe we could get it out to Harry Styles' management team or he sees it, maybe maybe he could give her a little FaceTime uh, video or something like that would totally brighten her day. Um, Again, like I said, DJ Kaz is a friend to a lot of our shows. So please, if you could go take a look at that video and share it, I would greatly appreciate it. As far as Nancy Guthrie, now there have been a couple of, I don't know if I want to say fake news or over exaggerated news in the past week. I guess Nancy Grace was reporting that somebody was detained. There's no confirmation on that. As far as I know, she's the only source it came from. So we don't know if anybody's been detained or not. I do know last week that Savannah was called off the set during the show. She was supposed to do an interview. I do believe she returned later in the show afterwards, but we do not know why she was called off the set. There was also a huge DNA announcement this past week with Nancy Guthrie. Now, here's the thing, the DNA is not new. We've known about DNA. We were told it was sent to one lab in Florida and it was mixed, so it could take a while to detangle. However, the new announcement that came brought with it, there's also hair DNA that they're looking at. Oh, and to go back real quick, as far as the person in detention, Sheriff Nano had a one-word reply to that, and he went, nope. So I guess that's a confirmation that there's nobody in detention. But back to the DNA. There's been no, we knew about the DNA, the initial blood DNA. The new add-ons to that, though, is that the DNA has been sent to multiple labs now. Now, I don't know if it was originally sent to multiple labs or just the one in Florida. But as we know, we were told there were 5 labs it's gone to. There's also hair included, which could help a little bit. I just don't know what to think of this whole Nancy Guthrie thing. It got messed up from day one. Timelines are all over the place. The pictures are coming, the couple pictures that we have from surveillance cameras are useless. There is something I saw recently, one of the earlier videos from one of the YouTubers. Hello, Stroopit. How are you? Hello, Mickey Griggs. one of the YouTubers caught on his video of the front door using his drone was early on when nobody was supposed to be in the house. He had the drone pointed at the front door, and they actually do see feet walking around by the front door on the inside. So we don't know what that was about. Allegedly, nobody was in the house at the time, but we don't know. You know, a lot of the theories with the Nancy Guthrie case. Hey, Twisted Tea, how are you, sweetheart? You know, as many of us do, we sit here and we obsess over it and we watch it, and I tend to dismiss. Like, there's the one theory I heard was somebody called into JLR and they thought, well, maybe, you know, maybe the family thought they were going to lose the house and money to a nursing home. Okay, first of all, now, and I have no confirmation of this, but from what I understand, Nancy's home is in a trust, so that will never happen anyway, the way it's set up. Hello, Heather. How are you, sweetie? And people with money tend to make provisions for those sorts of things. People with money actually have incredibly good insurance. And I know this because when my mom was sick, and my mom was no money by any means. In fact, she died with only a couple $1,000s in her bank account. That was it. But the one thing she did have was incredibly good insurance. And we had her in a private nursing home. And the only time we had to cover any expenses was if she ended up having to spend the night in the hospital. Hello, Edwin. Blessings. We would have to cover the costs of her bed at the nursing home because obviously insurance isn't going to cover both in one night. They're not going to cover 2 beds in one night. So we would pay to hold the bed in the nursing home and let the insurance pay for the hospital. So I highly doubt that they would have lost the house to a nursing home. So that's a theory that's completely out of my mind. I do believe, and I don't want to keep going back to saying, oh, it's the family, it's the family, it's the family. I do believe it's an inside job, though, as even if the family didn't know about it, maybe somebody close to the family did. It definitely had to be somebody that knew the house, knew the property, knew she was going to be gone that day or that evening. I'm not buying the whole drug cartel thing. I don't know why. I just don't feel it. But there really, like I said, there were a couple of fake news stories this week, but that's it. It's pretty much, I feel like it's at a dead end otherwise until some of this DNA gets tangled out. Now, another theory was that, oh, maybe she only had a nosebleed at the front door, and, you know, because people think she was taken out the back door. Well, if they took DNA from the blood at the front door and it's mixed with someone else's DNA, well, that kind of debunk. I mean, yeah, she could have had a nosebleed if she was hit on the nose, but that it still means if it's mixed DNA that there was more than one person there. So it wasn't just like an innocent nosebleed type of scenario. Trying to think here too. So I don't know. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on this? You know, I know a lot of people, again, I do believe it's either somebody close to the family or inside somehow. But I don't want to keep, I don't like it when people keep putting blame on the family, like particularly when they say, oh, well, Annie and Tommaso aren't behaving properly, or Savannah's not behaving properly. Right, Heather. If it's not family, it's somebody close to the family. Right. I get it. I get it. Um, or somebody that might have knowledge of how to get to her because they are close to the family. Yes. Um, like, I don't think it's a complete stranger, but I don't like the fact that people are saying that they're not behaving, the family is not behaving properly. All right. Unless you've had a family member go missing, you don't know how you would react. You know, a lot of people are critical. Well, Savannah went back to her job. Well, first of all, Savannah's under contract. She doesn't go back to her job. She's going to probably lose her tail end. But also keeping that job out in the public is probably the best thing. Um, People don't like the fact that Annie and Tommaso aren't talking or they're not behaving properly. Well, how would you behave? You know, first of all, we're not dealing with just a typical missing person here. We're dealing with the mother of a celebrity. You don't know what lawyers and publicists are telling them. The less you say, the better, no matter what. You know, guys, we all know it here on YouTube. Anything we say can get twisted, right? Um, Anything we say on here can get twisted into anything. So, you know, you are dealing with a celebrity's mother, so they could be told, don't talk to anybody. Now, what I do find disturbing is that Nanos and the FBI aren't doing, and even if it's come to a dead end, you know, they should have been doing like regular, even once every 2 weeks, some sort of press release. Hey, we're working on it. We haven't found anything. Um, Even if they have stuff that they don't want to tell us, to say, hey, look, we can't release information right now. But just touch base with the general public. It is such a public story. They're not even saying anything, like, period. That's what I was going to say. You don't know how you will react and how long before you get back to somewhat normal life. Nobody can say for sure. Exactly, Heather. And let's be fair here. Maybe if everybody gets back to normal, something will jiggle loose, you know? People tend to get comfortable when they don't think they're being watched. Um, you know, there's a lot of people upset that the YouTubers were basically they were basically told to leave. Like, don't even, you know, come back anymore, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, in some way, they're the only ones, you know, keeping it out there, which is great. But on the other hand, what can they do sitting across the street anyway at this point? Second of all, if the house isn't being watched by the general public, maybe somebody will slip up and come back to the home. Who knows? Maybe that's what the police want. So I don't know. That's pretty much where I'm at with this. You know, there were just a lot of theories, though, that kind of contradict themselves from the general public anyway. Um, you know, like, like I said, there's people that'll say, oh, the DNA at the doorstep could have been from, she might have had a simple nosebleed. Here's one that I heard. Well, allegedly it was Tommaso that drove her home that night, and there was something said that Tommaso saw her lock the front door. Well, a lot of people went, well, if Tommaso went in through the garage and took her in through the garage, how could he have seen her lock the front door? Well, what if he followed her in to make sure she got in okay, and then followed her in the front door, make sure she got in, she locked the front door, she goes up to bed, he leaves out the garage again. You know, there's a lot there's a lot of people picking at things that who knows. Also, I don't believe there were any, maybe all but two photos put out from inside the home. Hi, Scott Lawson. How are you? So we don't know what condition inside the home looked like either. I haven't seen too many photos of that. Um, so I pretty much think we're at a dead end right now. So let's see what else is going on in the news, guys. Scott, did I say hello to you? Hello, sweetheart. Let me see what's going on in the local news. Let's see what's going on in the good old Lehigh Valley. Oh, guys, let's take a minute. It is April 19th. So, guys, let's take a minute to remember the people that were lost in the Oklahoma City bombing 31 years ago today. Not too much in the news other than like car accidents and stuff like that. Driver crashes into Bethlehem home, porch damaged. Yikes. Seen that a few times. Oh, we don't want that. Don't want to get a copyright. All right, let's see here. So, what else? Another famous person, David, that's how he spells it, was arrested for unaliving a 14-year-old girl in California. Yeah, I heard he was arrested. I did hear that. That was about 2 days ago. I'm not familiar with his music, to be honest with you. Let me read here a little bit and see. Death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. On September 8th, 2025, the remains of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez were discovered in Los Angeles, California, inside the front trunk of an impounded Tesla registered to David Anthony Burke, a music artist known professionally as David. I pronounce it David. I don't know why he would put like what the 4 has to do with anything. On April 16th, 2026, Burke was arrested on suspicion of her murder. Um, the relationship between Burke and Rebus. After discovery of Rebus's body, photographs allegedly showing them together surfaced. Rebus's mother stated that her daughter had a boyfriend named David and that Rebus and Burke had matching tattoos. Okay, now, listen, I'm not trying to put blame here, but 14 years old is a little young to be in that kind of serious of a relationship where you're getting tattoos. Like, is it like, is that so out of whack? Like, to think like that? See you, Stroopet. Have a good evening. Um, Now, mind you, I was like 16, 17, dating like 19, 20-year olds. That was the thing back then. It wasn't odd, it wasn't bizarre. But I wasn't even allowed to date until like 16. Um, I mean, yeah, we used to meet up at the mall with our friends and do the group date thing and sneak off and kind of stuff, or, you know, meet up with friends at the amusement park and stuff like that. That kind of dating. But like, if I would have ran around saying I had a boyfriend at 14, my mom would have fell over. My mom wouldn't have let me leave the house. You know, I don't know. And that was back in the 90s. Well, late 80s, early 90s. Right, Heather. At 14 years old, you don't have like a boyfriend. Like, there might have been a guy we liked or something, and we hung out with a couple friends or in a group, or, you know, at like 14, 15 years old. But I wasn't allowed to actually go out on dates and actually say I had a boyfriend until at least 16. But at that point, I had a car and pretty much wasn't much parents could do about it. But, you know, and let's also take a look at the ages on these people. Now, David himself, how old is he? All right, so he's 21. So last year he would have been 20, and his girlfriend is 14. Like, seriously, it's bad enough now. Okay, again, I'm not trying to, with this David and this girl, it really sounds like they were very close. Listen, I'm not, you know, again, I'm not trying to place blame on this girl's parents, but you're letting your 14-year-old date a 20-year-old? I mean, there's no good that's going to come out of that anyway. I mean, I've got 12 of you in the chat here. How many of you parents would let your 14-year-old daughter date a 20-year-old? Let's see. Maybe we could do a little poll. There we go. Reports were she was reported missing, but some family knew where she was. Photos of her were everywhere. Scott Lawson says, hell no. Mickey Griggs says, not me. Twisted T says, out. Right. My mom, are you kidding me? My mom would beat my ass if she thought I was hanging out with a 20-year-old at 14. Now, again, like I said, at 16, 17, I was dating like 18, 19, 20. But that's me being a couple years older. Of course, you didn't leave the house with somebody your parents didn't know. And I don't want to hear the parents aren't around or single parent family. My parents busted their ass and they were almost never home. But let me tell you something. When it came to knowing who their kids were hanging out with, damn Skippy mom was home to meet these people. Damn Skippy dad was home to meet these people. Although we also lived in a neighborhood where like you couldn't leave the house without your neighbor calling your mom at work. Is Jessie allowed to leave the house today or is she grounded? um and I realize kids find ways to sneak out of the house, but 14 years old? Hell no. Hell no. Now, I just put that poll up. Where did it go? Where did that poll go? And guys, if you found out you're 14, my first date with my now ex-husband, my dad was a cop. He walked in the house behind him. He had his hand on his holster. His partner came in the house. Smart move on your dad's part. My parents knew nothing. Times were different. All I said was, I'm going out. Not where, not with who, but we knew enough that we could do and not do. My situation was a little bit different. I had older brothers that used to lie or not tell my parents where they went. Um, so they would get caught and they would get in trouble, but it was mainly they would mainly get in trouble for lying and, or not being where they said they were going to be. So I would bebop out of the house and go, Mom, I'm going to be here, here, and here. Unless something happens and we're going there, I will call you. And this is before cell phones. So we had to call from payphones. And 8 times out of 10, as long as I gave my mom a location of where I was going to be with a possible alternate, just in case she found out I wasn't where I originally said I was going to be, she didn't even bother to check. So, I mean, there were ways to get away with stuff. And I wasn't lying because I would actually either stop by or, at least have an alternate location. But if you didn't call without telling your mom you're changing locations, or something like that, and it got to the point where by the time I was 18, all my mom cared about is call and let us know if you're going to be home tonight, right? Um, See, I kind of took cue from my brothers. I learned from their mistakes. And I'm like, well, if I just tell mom where I'm going to be and who I'm going to be with, um, she wouldn't even bother looking for me. It was when she didn't know where I was, that got me in trouble. So I got to a point with my mom where And to be quite honest, I don't think my mom cared about me anyway. It was more or less my dad that worried about me. Um, my mom was like, please take her, take her. They were more worried about the harm I would do to the guys than what they would do to me. Could be twisted tea. Could be. It could be a difference in generation. Um, but I don't know. My brothers were like 3 and 5 years older than me. So, my parents did parent throughout some of that span. And then my sister was 10 years younger than me. That was a completely different ball game. But I think no matter what generation it is, I don't think any parents of a 14-year-old would let their kid go out with a 20-year-old. Like I would at least think, at 14, I don't care what generation you're in, your parents would. Plus I was a baby of 5, they were broken in. I was the 4th of 5. So that's how I got to get away with some things too. So I'll agree with you on that. I was the 4th of 5. Like I said, I learned from my older brothers. I watched them lie and get in trouble. So I would just be like, yeah, um, I'm going over to so and so's house. We might go to the park and hang out. If we do, I'll call you. Um, if we're not at the park, we're going to go here. We're going to go see a movie or go to the mall. Something like that. I gave my mom options of where I could be. And like I said, as long as I did that, I learned from my brothers, as long as I did that and didn't lie about where I was going or didn't sneak out of the house, my mom would just be like, just call and let us know if you're coming home or you're spending the night somewhere. That was it. The only other rule that my parents had was until I was 17, I only had a junior driver's license, which means you couldn't drive between 12 and 6 a.m. So their other rule was no, technically in PA, you have a driver's license and a junior license until you're 18, unless you take driver's ed. So I took driver's ed. My high school offered it at the time. Yes, that's how old I was. um, so between 16 and 17, as long as my car was home by midnight, my parents really didn't care where I was. They just wanted my car home by midnight. Well, that's another thing, Mickey. I got a couple of bar stories from when I was a kid. Our parents took us into the bar. How about that? We weren't sitting out in the parking lot. We were in the bar as kids. Try getting away with that. Now, obviously, after a certain time of night, we were, they took us home, but my mom also worked part-time at a bar. So. You guys are funny. But I'll never forget. Oh my God. Like I said, twisted tea. My sister was 10 years younger than me, and I was 26 years old. I was pregnant. My parents were out of town, so I had to go check on my sister. Um, Caught her at a party down the street. Um, then there was another time. Uh, she said she was sleeping at some friend's house, and now, mind you, my parents were in the middle, they were separated. So, when I say my parents were out of town, they were out of town at separate places, even. Oh, yeah. So were we, Mickey. So were we. Um, we, so she was supposed to be at one girl's house, but wasn't. The other girl was, the other girl, we found out because the other girl's mom called my parents' house looking for her, and my parents weren't around, so I had to call them. And then of course, I had my schizophrenic grandmother to deal with too, who was freaking out. Um, I had to wait for my dad to get home, and my mom came down to the house. And of course, everybody's paying. We finally found out where she was. I had to drive my dad to go get her because I was like, Dad, you're not. My dad was going to kill her. Oh my God. My dad was going to kill my sister. Not literally, but I didn't want him drive. It was a 10-mile drive. Um, when we got to where she was, she gets in the back seat, and he turned around while I'm trying to drive. He turns around, damn near rips out his seat trying to get to her while I'm trying to drive. Um, but I don't know. Back to this David thing. The relationship, Reva's brother told NBCLA that she went missing after Burke picked her up in his Tesla. So, like, the family's around. But that's what I mean. Like, the family's around and they're allowing this. See, that's what I mean, though, Twisted Tea. In your case, your family didn't know what was going on, correct? Um, they didn't know where you were going, who you were with, but they knew it. That doesn't make it any better. See, Twisted Tea, like I said, you sneak around, whatever, you didn't get caught, whatever, your parents didn't know anything. Um, but the fact that they knew makes it even worse on the parents, right? Am I wrong in that thinking, guys? I was kind of screwed as a kid. My dad was a cop on the school board and also a deacon in the church. My best friend's uncle was the assistant principal. Oh gosh. What's funny though, Heather? Everybody that I knew whose parents were cops or in the church or teachers, or even pastors, their kids were the worst. I never did anything bad. I'm a rule follower. Oh, you are? Okay. So they didn't have to worry about you. I was a rule follower, sort of. Like I said, I learned from my brothers. We were kind of not too bad. Of course, we always had this one friend that she would break away from the group and go off and get into trouble. And then by the time her mom found out, she was back hanging out with us. And by the time her mom found her and found out, we always got scorned by her mother. So I had this one friend, and there were a few of us. We would go meet up at this one place for coffee after school. And our parents knew where we were. They knew what we were up to. They had a bottomless cup of coffee. So we would go and hang out and be cool and have coffee after school. And so the one girl, she ditches school and ends up getting caught. Her mom, see, she had this thing where she would erase the phone message from the school before her mom got home, but she didn't realize that her mom had stopped back at the house and had already heard the message before she got to erase it. So she meets back up with us after school hours, and her mom comes into the restaurant and looks at me and this other girl and goes, "Oh, it figures it's you two spoiling my child." Well, this was the girl whose mother blamed everything her daughter did on us, and her daughter was the worst of us. My aunt and uncle went to the bar to get my parents. They were keeping us. On the way back, we hit a bridge head on and unalived. Oh my gosh, Mickey. Oh, how horrible. Of course, we did the drinking and acting stupid, but yeah, that's typical. That's typical teenage stuff. We had a friend like that. She was friends with my best friend. She wasn't my friend. I got in trouble on my own, didn't need her help. Oh, right. Seriously. And this girl's mom would call up my mom and go, and she called. So my mom ends up calling up the restaurant because she drugged this girl out by her ear. And my mom calls up the restaurant. And I said, "All right, mom, I'm coming home. I'll be home anyway. I'm coming home anyway." So I walked home and I said, "Mom, I swear to God, I went to school this day or today," which I actually did, which was funny because I used to cut school all the time. But that happened to be the one day I went, right? So I'm like, "Mom, you could call the office. I was actually in the office that day." Um, or we would sneak off to parties and she would run away from the party and I would go home. And the next day, her mom would be like knocking on the door saying, "Oh, my little special daughter is missing. Where is she?" And I'm like, "I don't know where she went. Was she supposed to be spending the night at your house?" "Well, I couldn't find her when I got caught at the party, so I left without her." You know? My dad would go because my mom, she would work at a daycare center, and then sometimes at night she would either on the weekend she would either bartend at night or she would be the cook for this one bar during the weekend nights. And then Sunday afternoons, if my dad wasn't doing flea markets and stuff, because he was a landscaper, but he used to get tables at flea markets and sell stuff, or you know, go to the auctions and stuff like that on Sundays. Well, if he wasn't doing that on a Sunday, he'd be like, "Oh, okay, I'm going to get a six pack," like Sunday afternoon. "I'm going to get a six pack, blah, 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 blah." And my mom would go, "Here," and hand me to him and be like, "Take her with you." Because, first of all, my mom would do anything to get rid of me. She didn't want me anyway. Um, my dad would be like, "Oh, okay." But my mom also thought it would keep him from, like, I don't know, staying out too long or, you know, flirting. I don't know. But here's what my mom didn't understand was he would take me to the bar and here's this cute little toddler. Um, and all the girls would swarm to him. She was the reason we had a bolo put out on us because she didn't respond to her mom's pages. Her mom thought something happened. We all caught hell, but yeah, right? Yeah, those friends are no good. Those friends are no good. So let's get back to this David thing here. But see, that's what makes it worse, though, guys. Her parents knew. Like, it wasn't like she was sneaking around. Listen, if I had a 20-year-old coming to pick me up at the age of 14, my parents probably would have called the cops, to be honest with you. Burke claimed to be in a song Crisis in the same server To which an anonymous user replied, "Drop the one with the missing girl, Celeste Rivas Hernandez." Burke did not reply to this message. On September 9th, 2025, Burke performed at the Fillmore in Minneapolis as part of his Withered tour. The day before, heavily decomposed human remains were discovered in Los Angeles inside the front trunk of an impounded car registered to Burke. Well, that's one way to get caught. The discovery came after the LAPD was called by a tow yard worker to investigate a foul odor emanating from the vehicle. The remains were found in a black bag in the front trunk. The body was at least partially dismembered, but not decapitated. Oh, cute. The car was first parked on Bluebird Avenue in Hollywood Hills. On September 3rd, the vehicle was cited for violating a 72-hour parking ordinance and was impounded and towed to a Hollywood yard 2 days later. How do you just forget you left a body in the trunk of your Tesla? Like, seriously, dude. You didn't think you were going to get caught? On September 16th, 2025, the Los Angeles County ME identified the body as that of Celeste Rivas Hernandez through forensic examination due to advanced decomposition. Found a day after her 15th birthday, she is believed to have died a considerable amount of time before her body was discovered. Identification of the cause of death has proven to be difficult due to the body's advanced state of decomposition. Sources close to the investigation told news outlets she may have died in spring of 2025. So wait, when did she go missing? Okay, so she last ran away in April of 2020. Okay, so she had run away in 2020, April of 2024, last contacted her family in May of 2024. They know she was alive in September of 2024 and January of 2025. Okay, so she had run away. Okay. Were they looking for her prior to that, though? Were they looking for her as a runaway? All right, so that makes a little more sense. Okay. So they might not have known she was dating a 20-year-old. Okay. We could have been related. That's the lifestyle we live, Jesse. I hear you, Mickey Griggs. I hear you. Oh, trust me, I have stories that will never come out for a long time. They'll come out eventually, but not right now. Mickey Griggs, our parents, if parents did with their kids what our parents did, and I'm not even talking even real creepy, grimy stuff, but they would leave us in parked cars. They would leave us home alone. Yeah, our parents would be in jail today. He sang at Coachella Festival last year right after it happened. He was seen crying and acting odd. The items they found at the house he was living at sounds like he was going to dispose of her differently. Right. Well, I wasn't understanding though either. I didn't realize she had run away. I thought, like he comes up to her parents' house, picks her up for a date, and then she's gone, But this looks like they probably didn't even know she was dating him. On September 18th, 2025, LAPD investigators executed a search warrant at a Hollywood Hills property occupied by Burke and seized electronic devices, including a computer. A private investigator hired by the property owner reported finding a burn cage incinerator, whatever that is. Yikes. Burke's manager terminated the property's lease shortly after the search and he moved out. Burke has retained a criminal defense attorney known for representing celebrities. So who would that be? Garagos? LAPD robbery homicide captain Scott Williams stated that no suspect had been identified in Rivas's death, cited the undetermined cause of death and uncertainty about criminal culpability. Although they found her body in his car, that's pretty damning. Circumstantial, but damning. The case is being treated as a potential homicide. Gee, you think? Little girls don't end up in the trunks of cars by accident. Grand jury and legal proceedings. Court order, medical examiner's response. Okay, Burke has been named blah, blah, blah. Suspect on April 16th, 2026. Burke was arrested by the Los Angeles Police Department in connection with the death of Rivas. He is reportedly being held without bail pending a court appearance. All right, so that'll probably happen this week coming up. Like, if they have no, well, he's being held without bail, so they probably already whatchamacallit. The family of Celeste Rivas Hernandez is considering filing a civil suit against the LAPD to force the release of evidence and records related to the investigation. Days after the discovery, the remainder of Burke's Withered 2025 tour was canceled and his shows in LA and California were canceled. Okay, so she was missing. Oh, geez. So she was reported missing in February of 2024. Then she was reported missing again in April of 2024. Okay, so she was missing for over a year before they found her body. Okay, all right. Maybe I'm not going to be so hard on the parents then. She could have OD'd and panicked. No excuse. Yeah, but Twisted Tea, she was partially dismembered. Usually people that OD don't come back to life and dismember themselves. Some reports say some of her family knew. All right, so they might have known she was dating him, but she's a runaway at that point. They have to be able to find her. Oh, she could have OD'd and he panicked? Sorry, I read that wrong at first. Well, you're right. It's no excuse. It's possible, but if you're going to panic, though, you're not going to leave. You're going to get rid of the body, right? You're not going to leave it in the trunk of your car. Like, I don't care if it was on purpose or by accident. When you're panicking like that, you're not going to leave a body in the front trunk of your car, right? And then the car gets towed. Like, don't you think at that point, better start talking or walking, Right. No, I misread that at first, Twisted Tea. I apologize. Yes, and that she was with him. Some reports say that. Right. Okay, well, if that's the case, then why didn't they notify the police? Because at that point, she's a minor. And I don't now I know some states have what they call the age of it's not discretion, but it's um at 16 you can date like up to maybe a 20-year-old or something like that. But I forget what the age of consent. But at 14, I don't think any state has the age of consent at the age of 14. Hijack the tow truck. Yeah, sorry, Mickey Craigs. Let's see. Um, yeah, that's right, Mickey. Age of consent. Um, but I don't think any state has the age of 14 as the age of consent. I get it, Twisted Tea, but come on, let's be realistic. At 20 years old, 20-year-olds know more in this day and age than we ever did. You know, come on. We had to go look up things in the library using the card catalog. And that was if the library was open, right? Our local library in town was open 2 days a week for 6 hours each day. And then Saturday, it was open for 6 hours. Don't forget whoever parked that Tesla. Well, the Tesla was registered to him. Okay, so regardless of whoever parked it, um, that person had some connection to him to begin with. And I don't know about you, but if my car got stolen tomorrow and they found a body in the trunk after it was towed, they would initially come back to me, don't you think? I've heard so much I don't recall. I know, right, Heather? There's so much information. Look at the people that run off in car accidents. Well, they're usually drinking Twisted Tea, or they have warrants elsewhere. I get into a car accident, I'm not running off. I don't drink and drive, and I don't have warrants elsewhere. I think one of his closest friends had been arrested. Now, okay, so you want to say maybe one of his friends was responsible and threw it in his car? Yeah, I can buy that, but ultimately, if your car gets towed and your girlfriend's missing, um, but they still run off and leave people dead. Right, because they have other charges against them. um, oh God, guys, I'm not feeling good. I have a pinched nerve in my back and it's killing me and sitting on one of my muscles, so I'm getting muscle spasms. Um, no, and I'm not trying to sound condescending, but I mean, of course, you guys are right. There's different circumstances that could happen. I have no doubt he did it, but I'm looking at the mind of a 20-year-old. Have you looked around lately? Well, you're right. 20-year-olds nowadays, yeah, they need a lot of hand holding, I've noticed. So you're right there. You got me there, Twisted Tea. Um, you're right. And and Heather's right too. It could have been, hey Marcy girl. Well, that's what we're getting to, Marcy girl. Is it possible somebody took her car and hid her body? Yeah. Um, but if somebody's going to take her car and hide her body, you're not going to leave the body in any connection to your friend or you, right? But Twisted Tea is right. 20-year-olds nowadays. Was she pregnant? I don't know. That I don't know. Now her body was very decomposed. Um, they knew she was alive as of January 2025, but she wasn't found until I believe it was September of 2025. So who knows? Really, Heather. Now that's gonna be and found in 2 or 3 bags, right? In a car. Was he even concerned she was missing? That's a good question. Well, and that's what I was getting to. That's what I'm saying. Your girlfriend's missing, your car gets towed. What's going on? I mean, maybe he didn't do it, but he knew about it. Exactly, that could happen. I don't think so. Not until Coachella he did his show, but acted odd and was seen crying, then started his tour. Well, when did his Coachella show happen? Was that before or after they found the body? All right, so the last confirmed telephonic contact with family was May of 2024. But September of 2024, she was at her family's lake home. January of 2025, digital evidence suggests she was alive. Spring of 2025 is the estimated time of death. Late July 2025, car registered to Burke, parked on Bluebird Avenue, unused and dirty. August 28th, 2025, car ticketed for violating 72-hour parking ordinance. September 3rd of 2025, car towed to Hollywood Tow Yard after exceeding parking limit. September 8th of 2025, body of Rivas discovered in trunk of Burke's car. So we're talking over a year here. Is she all right? So January of 2025, we know she's alive. She was seen at her family's house 4 months prior in September 2024, and her body's found in September 2025. So that's a year that she was away from her family. Now, if they're estimating she passed away in spring of 2025 and she wasn't found until September, I would think that David would be concerned. Like, your girlfriend's missing for how many months? I don't think so. Not That's the summer months, the time of year, and this last weekend, if it's this year. After she would have been dead, she was seen in photos wearing things she wore. All right, Marcy girl. After she would have been dead, he was seen in photos wearing things she wore. He was wearing her clothes? That's odd. Maybe there should be some mental evaluation going on with this guy, huh? Jewelry and things like that. So, yeah, why wasn't he worried that his girlfriend was missing all that time? That's what I want to know. Like, wouldn't I mean, maybe he was afraid to report her missing because of her age and he didn't want to get in trouble? Or he thinks everybody's stupid. It sounds like he's not that bright. All right, guys. Anyway, listen, it's 8 o'clock. Been on an hour and 8 minutes. Guys, like I asked, if you check out the post, my last post, check out that video of DJ Kaz and please share it. So get the word out. Maybe we can make that video go viral. Get its way to Harry Styles so he can help make a little girl feel better. Guys, I love you all. Try to be kind, and I will see you all in the next chat room, which will probably be angels in a little over an hour. Good night, guys.